Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have an awesome nutrition panel here this evening, and when you hear what these people are going to have to say, you're really going to learn a lot of great information. So let's start on this end, please, shall we?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alejandro Junger, and I'm a doctor, a physician. I come from Uruguay, South America. I finished medical school over there, came to New York to do my postgraduate training. I did 3 years in internal medicine at NYU Downtown Hospital, and then 3 years of cardiology fellowship at Lenox Hill Hospital. And this is a miracle that I'm in a nutritional panel, because in medical school or in the life of the hospital, there is never a discussion about nutrition between doctors. There's no class, there's no course from the generation where I come. And these are the doctors that are treating you guys. So yeah, hallelujah, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Next we have...
Hi, I'm Brenda Cobb. I'm the founder of the Living Foods Institute in Atlanta, Georgia, author of 9 books, including The Living Foods Lifestyle. And, not only in your country is there no dialogue among doctors about nutrition, but there is no dialogue in the USA either. This is where you're trained, because, there's less than maybe 2.5 hours from all the doctors I've talked to about just a little smidgering about nutrition. But it's based on things that are antiquated and outdated, like the food pyramid, of which the meat and dairy industry paid. Okay, so we know where they're coming from. Quickly, my story is, in '99, I was diagnosed with breast and cervical cancer. I did not do surgery, chemo, or radiation. I completely healed with organic, raw, and living foods, cleansing and detoxification, emotional healing, proper mental thinking, and learning to manage. I opened an institute to help others, and people come from all over the world, and so we're now in our 11th year. I'm very excited because we are now expanding into a brand new fabulous facility after 11 years in being one space. So we're moving now to a huge space on acreage, and we're very excited about that. And we're going to have a great, wonderful nutrition panel tonight. And so be thinking about questions that you might want to ask us, so that we can all give our input, because there are some amazing people on this panel. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Deborah Secunda. I'll just briefly tell you how I got into the raw living foods lifestyle. Back in 1998, I was a broadcast journalist and a video producer. Met Viktoras Kulvinskis, interviewed him. He handed me his book, The Lover's Diet, and that was it. I was in love. Not just with Viktoras, but with the raw living foods lifestyle. So that started me on my journey. As a video producer, I just want to mention Viktoras is not here this weekend, but he's here in spirit and on some DVDs that we have. And I'll be filling in for him tomorrow during his workshop from 1 to 3, making some raw food recipes. So I'm basically here because raw living foods is preventive medicine, and you're absolutely right. The medical industry just doesn't even address that at all.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you for inviting me to this illustrious panel. Joel Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy. I think many of you have heard Dead Doctors Don't Lie, the audio cassette tape CD. And actually started a company called Longevity. And we primarily believe that you have to supplement to get everything you need. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to get everything you need just by eating well. And that's because I have a background, turn off your phones. It's because I have a background in agriculture. I have a degree in agriculture, I have a degree in veterinary medicine. I'm a postdoctoral fellow in comparative pathology. I have done over 20,000 autopsies, 17,500 and over 454 species of animals, and 3,000 human beings for comparison. The book that came out of that's in the Smithsonian Institute. It's a national treasure. 10 million chemistries, 10 million slides with special stains looking for pollution and nutritional deficiencies. And my wife and I have written about 12 books, ranging from Dead Doctors Don't Lie to Immortality, based on using, since 1978, 32 years, nutritional formulas were designed to prevent and cure as many as 900 different diseases in the animal industry for pet and laboratory and farm animals on human patients. I've been doing this now for 32 years, and the concept of preventing and curing diseases in animals and nutritional formulas works the same in humans. So that's what I bring to the table here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Doctor. And we have the Flaxman.
Hi there, I'm James Boschman from originally Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And you notice they seat me to the left, if you're looking from here. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, in 1962, Medicare was born in Canada. We've had it since 1962. So I'm one of those commie guys from Canada with Medicare. Now, as you know, the only difference between Canadians and Americans is a Canadian is an unarmed American with Medicare. That's really the only difference. However, we have a long history as commies there. You know, we have a public education system, believe it or not. Had it since the country started. We didn't farm it out to private enterprise. We have roads run by departments of highways of the provinces and the federal government. They're not all toll roads, communists that we are. We have police forces paid for by taxes, not farmed out privately. We have fire departments. You must think we're a bunch of pinkos up there. Anyway, I'll get down to the point. When I was about 34, I got introduced to flaxseed, did a lot of good stuff for me, been researching nutrition and especially essential fatty acids for the last 30-some years. I'm 66, a grandfather, a widower, a father, and this will be my 16th show, 32nd show, 16 years.
Wow. Thank you. So I guess we're going to start with some questions. Does anyone have a question for our esteemed panel? Yes.
Okay, talk about how can you, I tried doing raw foods and I found that in the dead of winter, when it's freezing and damp and cold, it's very, very difficult. But I was okay the rest of the time, but it was very hard, especially with stressful situations that make it difficult to be home making things and having to be out and doing all these other things. Between the cold and the erratic schedule, how do you deal with doing raw foods?
Okay, well, what you're basically talking about is, in other words, during the wintertime, it's hard for you to do raw and living foods. And we have some experts. Who would like to answer that question?
Oh, well, there's a lot of people who can. I'll give my 2 cents worth, and then I'm sure Deborah's got, other people would want to say something. Well, first of all, in our program, we really teach to do 80% raw and living and 20% cooked vegan, so that people are having some cooked foods along with it. That's one thing. But did you know that you can heat foods without cooking them? So, you know, in a dehydrator, you can heat, you know, with the Vitamix, you can do blending and heat soups and so forth. So we do a lot of that, you know, because not only are we using the really intense healing foods, because some people come to us that are ill and we are needing to help them heal. Other people are coming because they want to just stay healthy, and they're not ill at all, or they want to learn more about what they've heard is that raw and living foods can maybe help them reverse aging and look younger. So everybody's got a different reason. So I used to be a gourmet chef and really known for my cooked food. And then, of course, whenever I changed my whole lifestyle, I decided I want to create foods that everybody is going to enjoy eating. Most people, if they're ill, will eat healthy foods for maybe a month, even if they don't taste good. But after that, they really don't want to keep eating them. So I use the dehydrator for dehydrating to warm, and you can warm anything. So I make raw lasagna, but I put it in there and warm it up before I eat it. You know, so that's one thing. And then if you're doing the cooked vegan, nice steamed vegetables, lightly steamed, give you the warmth. You might want to do some type of a nice soup in the wintertime. So get a balance with it. And then I think you'll find that once summer comes around, spring and summer, then you just kind of naturally will gravitate toward more raw and living foods. So that's not a bad thing to eat some cooked foods. You know, I eat some cooked foods in my diet as well. Okay. Of course, everybody has a little bit different of way, you know, what their dietary program is, but mine is vegan, and it is raw and living, and some cooked vegan.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Brenda just said. In addition to that, there's another little trick that I do. I make, it's not mashed potatoes, but sometimes you want that warm comfort food. It's squished up almonds and cauliflower and onions. And what I do is a water bath. So you'll put a small bowl of that in a bigger bowl and add warm water to it, and it gently heats it. Absolutely. In the wintertime, you want some warmed foods, hot lentil soup, a nice hot baked sweet potato. These things are all good, wonderful. Even a tofu stir fry. I'm not into deprivation. I agree with Brenda with the 80%, 20% around in there. But for dinner, you come in from the cold in the winter, absolutely, have a nice warm dinner. It's all about balance on a daily basis.
Excellent. Who's getting hungry now?
I would ask you back, what are you eating for? Because it's different if you're eating because you want to cause a positive impact in the environment, so then you're avoiding meats for their off-gassing or of methane. It's different if you're doing it for religious reasons. It's different if you're doing it for a diet. So depending on what people are eating for, then the answer would be different. Because, for example, I don't know really that America is even ready to understand what we have to eat, because we have not yet understood what we don't have to eat. And what we don't have to eat is what's killing us. You know, so raw foods alone, I don't know if it's the best thing for you at this moment in your life, and depending on what you're looking for. But I can give you a list of things that if you don't eat, whether cooked or raw, you will be much better off.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, I can go with this. Okay. If a person's going to be a vegan, whether it's wintertime or summertime, I believe you have to supplement with all the known essential nutrients consciously to level the playing field, because plants cannot manufacture minerals. If you can find me any plant that will manufacture mineral, I'll give you $1 million in small bills, tax-free, in any offshore account you want. Okay? Plants do not manufacture minerals, and we must have these every day, just like you need oxygen and water. And so to level the playing field, whether you're going to be a vegan in New York State or in Florida or Wisconsin or Texas or California or Washington State, the only way to level the playing field so everybody's going to play the game safely and everybody get known quantities of all nutrients is to supplement with them. Your fires can't work inside your body. You cannot make ATP for energy. Your adrenals won't work without these minerals. You can't even use oxygen without the electron transfer system, which is a mineral-based thing inside your cells. And so if you're going to toy with being a vegan, especially during the stressful times, either the heat of the summer or the cold of the winter, you must supplement with all of these essential nutrients. If you do that, it's easier. And of course, I eat a lot of raw eggs. I probably eat 2 raw eggs a day. Been doing that for 65 years. I'm 70 years old now. Haven't been to a doctor in 56 years, with me being the patient. All my blood work and my bone density says I'm an 18-year-old athletic boy, but I'm 70 years old chronologically. I do eat a lot of raw foods, but that also includes raw meat and raw eggs.
You know, we also do believe. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you go ahead. No, I've already talked. No, give us your thing.
Go ahead.
No, give us your
Well, here we go.
Don't give us too much of it.
I'll just give you a short bit.
Give us a little bit of it.
I'm the result of 200,000 years of omnivores. We ate everything. Those of us that ate everything lived long enough to breed, and in those last 200,000 generations, we're the result. We ate everything there was. I eat eggs and cheese and fish and meat and vegetables and fruits and berries and nuts, and I don't take supplements. I eat food. I get my nourishment from food. Now, I'm not 70 yet, but I feel pretty damn good just eating food like we have for 2 million years. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Now, I know Deborah had a question or,
Oh, no,
or a statement. You
I
had a
was going to
statement.
ask you if I could just jump in for a second.
Yes, you may.
Okay, so I'm 92, and
You look great for 92. Wow.
okay, only
Awesome.
teasing. However, you can get your minerals from sprouts, from plants, from your seaweeds, vegetables. I don't actually believe that the body knows what to do with pills in a bottle. I think the body knows what to do with a whole food, fiber included, vitamin C that comes along with its bioflavonoids that's along with it. All right, you're agreeing. I think a pill in the bottle, the body goes, what is this, and reacts negatively to that. So I think you can get your minerals as long as you're eating tons of these wonderful raw living foods, chlorophyll, oxygen, and the leafy greens, tons of minerals in all of these foods. Brenda?
All right, well, I'm kind of in the between. First of all, I do think that supplementation can be extremely helpful in a lot of cases. I'll tell you why. Because when I get someone coming to my center and they have a serious disease, first of all, they're already depleted. Now, I can tell you that you can be eating raw and living foods all day long, but you cannot possibly eat a quantity enough when you're so depleted. So I do use some supplementation in the form of, like, I have a raw food powder, that is all the greens and everything, sea vegetables, and so forth, chlorella, etc., highly mineralized foods. But there are going to be some cases that people do need supplementation. Now, I'm one that kind of puts it all out there. In other words, I'm not telling you I'm doing one thing and then I'm really not doing it. So I'm going to tell you, I supplement every day. I mean, I do. And here's why. I travel, I teach, I keep a very hectic schedule. And so I travel with these things because even my nutrition is not going to be as optimum on the road as it is going to be in my own home. And so I have to say that I do feel that supplementation can be useful. Now, maybe a long time ago, when the organic, and I use all organics, and the soil was different and it wasn't depleted and all of that, maybe then there was a way. I'm not saying that maybe it could not have been done at some point, but now the soil is depleted. And again, the quantity of food, So like if I'm helping someone to heal cancer, for instance, well, broccoli could help, but nobody can eat enough of it. I'm using an herb that is a broccoli extract because in one dropper is like they were eating 17 heads of it. I mean, so again, I think that let's get a balance and say that supplementation, especially minerals, are very important. If you are a vegan, honestly, now look, the gut makes B12 if it has probiotics. But if you don't have a lot of friendly probiotics, you're not making it. I always recommend, if you're a vegan, be safe and supplement with a vitamin B12 because then you got it covered, okay? So I think we need to look at a balance. At least that's my personal opinion, doing both.
Thank you.
Well, there you
Well, there he is. Okay, Joel. Dr. Waller.
Yeah, I have to add something to that. Some of the stuff you said was really great. For instance, sea vegetables do have a lot of minerals in them, but sprouted grains, you have no idea because they only need 9 to be healthy and happy and make good seeds for the next generation. We need 60, and so if you're depending on these nutrients for a healthy life, you're going to get it from sprouted grains. You might get some enzymes. You're going to get some vitamins, but you have no idea how many minerals in there. Are there 3 or 13? Because the soil does not contain minerals in a uniform blanket around the crust of the earth. They contain minerals in veins like chocolate and chalk ripple ice cream. You don't know if those grains grew in a furrow that had 18 minerals or 3 minerals or 27. You can't tell by looking at the vegetable or the grain. And so you can get enzymes, you get vitamins from sprouted grains, but don't depend on them for minerals. You can with sea vegetables. And again, this comes from my background in agriculture. We're very, very familiar what's in these things. And so you have to be very cautious about thinking you get all the minerals you need from sprouted grains. Can't do it.
Okay, we got to say, well, we're not talking about sprouted grains,
We
so
have
we
a debate going on.
got to definitely say this. Now, first of all, I don't use any sprouted grains, and we don't eat sprouted grains, and we're not going to put that in our body. That's got gluten, so no sprouted grains. Now, here's what we're talking about. We're talking about broccoli sprouts, sunflower sprouts, buckwheat lettuce sprouts. We're talking about many of these soil grown too, where we're actually using sea vegetables in the soil, and they really are very full of minerals. So we're talking about those types of sprouts, just so everybody knows that we're personally not talking about, I know Deborah's not talking about sprouted grains either. We're talking about a different type of a sprout, okay, just to clarify.
I'm going to let Dr. Junger say. You're going to say the same thing. Dr. Junger.
I forgot what the question was.
What was the question?
Supplementation.
That's a word, not a question. What?
If the question was, do you think you need supplementation, or do you think you can get it all from your food?
Yeah, I think, and my experience comes from seeing people with diseases and treating them and looking at their blood work and the urine test, that the issue of supplementation is under a lot of confusion. And there are ways to narrow down the supplements that you need as opposed to whatever is in fashion or appears in the New England Journal of Medicine. There are ways. You can ask your doctor to get some of those tests yourself. See, the reason...
What tests?
The tests that will allow you to see what kind of nutrients you are deficient on.
What tests are those?
Well, for example, there's a laboratory called Metametrics in Atlanta, Georgia, that does a urine panel that shows you a bunch of metabolites which act in different chains of reactions in the cell, and we know, for example, that magnesium is needed for one of them. So if there's an accumulation of whatever magnesium is needed to transform the previous one, then inherently you know that magnesium. And I've seen diseases and symptoms go away whenever you supplement the nutrients that person needed.
It's a Jeffrey Bland. That's Jeffrey Bland, isn't it?
Well, Jeffrey Bland taught me a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Those are concepts explained by functional medicine as well, but many other people too. So there is a place for supplementation, but it's not the list that you're going to get from the New York Times. There's an educated way for you to understand what supplements you need, and then you have to consider that there's more than one problem of nutrients lacking in your food. There's also the problem of absorbing those nutrients that you need. And most of us have a destroyed intestine. So putting your attention on the nutrition without putting your attention on your gut is also useless. You can throw in really good food and really good supplements and make no use of them.
I think
Brendan,
that's
I'm going to cut you off.
okay.
Yeah, just what I said before is I do not supplement. If I had cancer, I would go and supplement. If I had some other thing that was bothering me where I didn't get up in the morning and feel great, do a 12-hour day, put my head on a pillow, go to sleep for 6.5 hours, jump up, drive 1,200 miles, and do a speech, I would look into supplementation. And if I were a medical practitioner and I had sick people coming to me, I might prescribe supplementation for sick people. What I'm saying is I'm a 200,000-year-old generation omnivore that isn't sick, and I just eat food.
And Dr. Wallach.
Okay, thank you. Again, I have to jump in here. I'm going to just ask everybody, do you put oil in your car before the engine burns up, or do you put oil in your car after the engine burns up? So I supplement to prevent diabetes, I supplement to prevent hypertension, I supplement to prevent arthritis, I supplement to prevent Alzheimer's disease and cataracts and macular degeneration, I supplement to prevent periodontal disease, I supplement to prevent lupus. I do this on a prevention basis. And anything you might get from your food is kind of a added value. You do not want to depend on what is or isn't in the food. We go from general comments that say, well, we take sprouted foods, and then it's very specific sprouted foods that are fertilized with kelp and sea vegetables and so forth. And so you have to watch what you say because people take away bits and pieces, and so it's very, very important to watch what you say. And it's kind of like oxygen. You have to take a test to know you need oxygen every day. You have to take a test to know you need water every day. So again, my advice is use liquid supplements. That's what I believe in, is liquids that are extracted from plants. They're certified organic. They satisfy everybody's wish for organic and from plants and not pills and stuff like that. And so these are easily obtainable. And so I urge you to really consider supplementing before you get diseases. Don't consider supplementing after you get the disease. And it's more expensive and painful.
Thank you. I'd like to ask each member, what supplements do you take?
Right now,
Nothing. What do you take?
Raw food powder, which has all the greens and some sea vegetables and some, a B12 I take because, I told you I'm vegan. If I'm not really out as much as I'd like to be in the sun, I'll supplement with vitamin D. I'm doing like the flaxseed, the omegas, and all that kind of thing I like to get through my food. But, there maybe sometimes I might use the flaxseed oil, although I don't really like that. I like the real thing because of the rancidity that you can get from that. I like the liquids. I do liquid herbs, from times to times if I need them. Herbs aren't something I take all the time, but every now and then maybe. I like chlorella because chlorella as a sea vegetable, has a lot of mineralization. So those are some of the basics. Of course, I'm doing my wheatgrass and all that where I'm getting a lot from food. But I also believe in this prevention. Problem being is that a lot of people don't do that,
Okay, but
and they
that's
end
the answer.
up being,
What
sick.
supplements do
So
you take,
that's
Deborah?
Okay. Primarily, my supplements are in the food. Sprouting is a superfood when you sprout your own superfoods. The other thing we haven't addressed is you had mentioned about absorption of the nutrients because we have
Now,
compromised
question
digestive
is, what
systems.
supplements do you take?
Okay, in the wintertime, I also take some D and I take B12, but mainly it's the sprouts, the foods, and the energy soup.
Thank you. Dr. Wallach, what supplements?
Okay, I take 60 essential minerals. These are all in the liquid colloidal form, certified organic. I take 16 vitamins. I take 16 vitamins, which are all derived from foods. I take 12 amino acids, the essential amino acids. I take the 3 omega-3, 6s, and 9s. And these are all, again, certified organic. And I do this every day. And again, I've been doing this twice a day forever and ever and ever since I was 9 years old. And I haven't been to a doctor. I have never taken any prescription medication. I'm 70 years old. And I haven't been to a doctor in 56 years because I prevent all these things. People say, why do you take stuff for diabetes when you don't have diabetes? I'm putting oil in the car before it gets burned up.
James.
I don't supplement. I eat food.
James
Let me
doesn't
just
supplement.
explain something here. But I do watch what I don't eat. I eat corn. It takes 18 cobs of corn to make a tablespoon of corn oil. I don't eat corn oil. I eat corn. I don't eat corn sugar. I don't eat corn syrup. And I don't eat corn starch. But I eat corn. I don't take granulated sugar in anything. But I occasionally buy sugar cane and chew it. It's great stuff. You get more fibers, vitamins, and minerals, and you're getting a half a teaspoon of sugar in about a 2-foot long piece. I do not eat refined foods, period. And I bake my own bread.
Okay, yes.
You mentioned the problem with absorption. That doesn't matter what you take if your body's not absorbing it. How do you know if your body is absorbing it? How do you find out?
When a gardener comes into a garden and sees problems in the leaves, the first thing he does, he goes to the roots and see if the roots are okay, right? Your gut is your root, and that's where the problems start. So people come to my office with all kinds of symptoms and diseases, and they were told that it's this name of disease, or this other name, or diabetes, or whatever it is, and then many times I say, okay, fine, whatever it is, but let's fix your gut, and then let's see what happens. And 60% of the problems just disappear by fixing gut. Well, we can talk about what fixing gut is in another conversation, but basically it means reconstituting your intestinal flora, rebuilding the intestinal wall, calming down the immune system that exists on the other side of your intestinal wall. There's a bunch of things that you do for that. And cleansing and detoxification in a certain way is useful for that purpose, to rebuild your gut. But there are other ways of knowing what minerals and things you are not absorbing with different tests, as I mentioned before.
So again, most diseases caused in the colon. Now, when you go to the bathroom, if it smells, that's you. If you let go of gas and it smells, that's you. So it's an indication of what's going on inside you. If you eat 3 times a day, you move your bowels 3 times a day. If you don't, you're constipated. That's all there is to it. Absorption.
Yeah, just to answer to the question of absorption, you can do a hair analysis, and if all the minerals in the hair analysis, whether it's 32 or 50, depending on the extent of the hair analysis, if they're all below the minimum levels, then you're not absorbing, because they should be like the stock market. Some of them will be up, some of them will be down, depending on the food you eat. But if they're all below that minimum, that means you're not absorbing. Another thing you can do is you can go to any pharmacy without a prescription, you get a free blood pressure test, pulse test in that little machine. You sit down, CVS pharmacy, get that. You get the test strips you pee on to see if you have blood or sugar or protein or infection or ketone bodies in your urine. We can see from a simple blood finger stick if you have your blood sugar and your blood cholesterol. And if you get the book Let's Play Doctor, it tells you what all those numbers mean and how they relate to malabsorption. You could go on a gluten-free diet for 90 days, and if you get better and feel better, that's a very cheap way to find out if you're sensitive to gluten and you're having absorption problems. There are certain diseases that are directly related to malabsorption. Asthma, skin diseases such as dermatitis, eczema, psoriasis, blood sugar problems, joint pain, joint noises. If you have those kinds of things, the odds are you have gluten intolerances.
You want me to go with that? I'll pass.
Deborah.
I just wanted to also mention that if you've been living on a standard American diet for most of your lives, which we call a SAD diet, it's pretty much a given that you're going to have some plaque in your colon and your intestines will have a problem with proper absorption. So you really want to look into a good kind of detoxification. What I like to do is have green smoothies that still have the fiber instead of juicing, and as this moves through the digestive tract, it will actually cleanse the villi in the small intestines and cleanse some of the plaque in the colon so that you will be better absorbing your nutrients. So it's actually giving you nourishment in this green smoothie at the same time that it's giving you a detoxification.
Okay, let's talk about cleanse. Cleanse.
Well, I happen to have a special interest in cleansing and detoxification because when I moved from Uruguay to New York, I had a change in my diet, and I ended up with depression, irritable bowel syndrome, and severe allergies. So I tried everything and except medications, and eventually it was by accident, if there are any, I ended up doing a cleansing and detox program at a place called the We Care Spa in California. And my experience was so mind-blowing because I was completely rid of all my symptoms, but I also lost a bunch of weight, and I never looked better in years before that. And to the point that people were stopping me and asking me, what did you do? That prompted me to realize that if I wouldn't have done that, the medical system was offering me 7 prescriptions of medications for the symptoms that I had. So I started looking into cleansing and detoxification very intently and very intensely because I realized that it would have been the solution. It was the solution for me, but how come training in the best hospitals in New York, I never even heard of this? So if you're going to talk to me about cleansing and detoxification, I'm going to be a strong proponent, to the point that I ended up designing a program that I call the Clean program, and I wrote a book about it. It's called Clean.
What does it consist of?
The book is
your program.
the program is a cleansing and detoxification program using the principles that I learned, combining what I experienced at We Care and what I learned in the Institute of Functional Medicine. You see, there's a lot of confusion about this. People go on cleansing and detox programs and they juice in the city, and then they get sick because juicing alone is not enough, and it's not enough nutrients, and it's too intense a detoxification process to be done while you're working and taking care of your kids and stuff. Those kind of programs should be done in places where everything else is, you're contained, everything else is taken care of. So like a spa kind of setting. So I toned down the cleansing and detoxification program by giving people a regular meal at lunch and a liquid meal in the morning for breakfast, a liquid meal for dinner, with supplements, because what I do is I rest people's digestive systems from having to be digesting all the time, but at the same time provide the amount of nutrients needed for the body to support the process of detoxification that you're going to generate like that. And in that way, one can detoxify in the city while you do your regular life without needing to go to a center if you can't. I mean, it's great to do a juice fast, but in the city, it can even turn dangerous. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you. And Brenda, what would you do for cleanse?
Well, we do cleansing and detoxification, not only at the center, but we teach people that are not able to get there what to do. So here's some of the things we do. We use wheatgrass juice to cleanse and detox. We use a recipe called energy soup. How many of you have heard of Dr. Ann Wigmore? That's her original energy soup. It's a blended. It's got the fiber and the greens and so forth in there that flushes and cleanses. We're using veggie kraut, which is a fermented kraut with the friendly probiotics and so forth in there. So we're using foods, okay? Green foods are really good for that. I definitely agree about the juicing. A lot of people come to the center that have tried this juicing thing, and sometimes people are so ill, they go on the juicing, it starts releasing things too quickly. It actually makes them worse rather than better. But we also use some products in cleansing because a lot of times people need help with that. So zeolite is one that can be a very good way to get some additional cleansing. And chlorella, if somebody has heavy metals like they have, say, mercury, then I'm going to use cilantro, liquid herb, and I'm going to use chlorella because that's going to really help pull out some of the heavy metals like mercury. So it's going to also depend on what the person is doing, because we're also wanting to cleanse and detox out worms, parasites, fungus, mold, yeast, virus, bacteria, things that can attach to each other. Because when people have candida, for instance, there are other things that will attach to it, and then that candida yeast is overgrowing and they're getting worse and worse. So we've got to get that cleansed as well. Good water, and flushing, and again, understanding about that and how to use it. And I don't want to monopolize the time. There's a lot more I could do about talking about detoxification because it's a key part. Cleaning out with enemas and colonics, and we use wheatgrass implants, in the colon, just like what Dr. Ann Wigmore did, and I find it extremely effective for cleansing and detoxing. And then you're going to see it in your eyes and in your skin, your hair, everything you're going to see, because once you're cleansed, skin problems are going to clear up, health issues. I had allergies and sinus and migraine headaches, and I had all that stuff before I ever was diagnosed with cancer. And I was a pill popper because my first husband was a pharmacist, and we had a medicine cabinet full of anything, and I didn't know the difference. So if I had a headache and he said, take that, I took it. But later on, of course, when I learned that that was totally not something good for me to do, I had to go back and clean all that stuff out. So, I could spend all night talking about cleansing, but those are the high points.
Thank you. And Joel, how would you cleanse? You told how you would cleanse.
Okay. Actually, I use several systems. I like the clays. Clays are very good for detoxifying things that are in your gut. They don't necessarily pull anything out of your tissues. For the things that are in your tissues, whether they're chemicals or whether they're carbon compounds or heavy metals, I like to use a liquid that has 14 herbs in it, called Herbal Rainforest, has 77 plant minerals. And then if you have things like mercury, one of the direct antidotes to mercury poisoning from your fillings or any other source is selenium. Selenium will actually displace mercury out of your body. If you have lead poisoning, you find lots of lead in your hair, in your blood, or urine, lots of calcium will displace the lead out of your body. And so using all those things, you can use specific metals and minerals to displace the toxic ones. And then I like the herbal combinations that have things like Cascara sagrada, taraxacum, which is just like dandelion root, and add those to the minerals. It's just a good overall cleanse. I like to do it every night. I take an ounce of these liquids every night at bed. You have 3 bowel movements a day. Keep things moving. You tend to be cleansed.
And James.
And the Flex Man. I don't juice. I eat an apple. I get 100% of the nutrition, all of the fiber, all of the vitamins, all of the minerals. The only time I would ever juice an apple and drink 8 ounces of apple juice once or twice a day is if I was trying to give myself type 2 diabetes. That's the only reason. If I wanted all the sugar and all the liquid in the apple and none of the nutrition, and I wanted my blood sugar to spike so that my liver could go and grab it, turn it into a triglyceride, and stick it on me somewhere and make me obese where it wouldn't kill me today, but it would kill me 20 years down the road. I don't juice oranges, and I would never commit the sacrilege of juicing a carrot. A carrot is sweeter than your sugar beet. And when you juice a carrot, you end up with about 4% of the nutrients, none of the fiber, and 100% of the sugar. If you want liquid fruits and vegetables, blend them. Throw them in a blender and don't add sugar to it. They're sweet enough. A handful of berries, a handful of strawberries. Blend it, then add your flax at the end, and that gives you the fiber. 2 heaping tablespoons of fiber of flax seed, milled, not dead fat in the capsule, not flax oil, seed, and you have a stool every morning that your proctologist would be proud of.
Yes. We did that.
Well, I was just going to say, I do a talk on raw green complete meals in a blender, and it's exactly what you're saying. It's blended. You can come see me afterwards. I have the recipes right here. They're on the website.
Delicious.
They're on the website. I'll be making it tomorrow.
And everything that goes in it.
Yes. They're all whole foods and sprouts, and it nourishes you as well as detoxifies all at the same time.
Great. Yeah, I never juice, but the Vitamix is great. Yes. What do you say? We should have it, or we have it?
Well, I'd just like to comment on the whole hydrochloric acid decay issue.
Okay.
Okay, I can start out with that. First of all, you have to appreciate that your stomach environment has to be a pH of 1.5 for your pepsin to work. You cannot digest proteins from grains or animal proteins without a stomach environment of 1.5 pH. You need to have a stomach environment of 1.5 pH to absorb B12. Regardless if you're an omnivore, vegan, or whatever, you need 1.5 for the intrinsic factor to work. Can't be 7, can't be 4, it's got to be 1.5 or less. It's got to be battery acid. The reason why older people tend to be low in hydrochloric acid in their stomach is because they're told not to use salt. And salt, sodium chloride, is the raw material to make hydrochloric acid. So anybody who tells anybody to cut back on salt should be put in jail for reckless endangerment. They're supposed to salt their food, preferably sea salt, but even at the, in an emergency, Morton's salt with iodine in it is better than nothing. You need to get that salt. Emergency.
That's got to be one heck of an emergency. No, no, no. Don't put any of that Morton's
well, wait
stuff
till-
in there. But I agree with salt. I use Himalayan salt. I think it's one of the
Listen, dear.
best ways. But don't ever put Morton's iodized sea salt, please.
Dear, when UPS can't go anymore because our connective system breaks down in the United States, the highway system, and you're 2 weeks without salt, you're going to want to use Morton salt. Believe me, I said in an emergency, okay? I sell a lot of sea salt, but in an emergency, even Morton salt will give you the hydrochloric acid raw materials. An emergency, you have to do what you got to do, right? And anybody who uses alkaline water, I'm going to start a real controversy here. Anybody who uses alkaline water should be put in jail. Here, here. Because alkaline water. Well, you're an MD. That's I expect you to do it. Yeah. Okay. Well, alkaline water is going to neutralize your stomach acid and put you in grave danger. Not immediately, but over time. And so you want to keep your stomach environment below 1.5. And alkaline water is a very dangerous thing over time. Because you will not be able to absorb B12, you will not be able to absorb efficiently minerals, you will not be able to efficiently digest proteins. And if you think you can live with a pH of 7 or 9 in your stomach, you're living in la-la land. Lastly, on the pH and acid, there's nothing you can do orally to change the internal environment of your body's pH. Now, you can change the pH of your urine and your saliva, because when your body is kicking out extra alkali or extra acid, it's going to come through your urine and your saliva. It's a great little parlor game to change your urine and your saliva pH, but there's nothing you can do to change your internal pH. Back when I actually had an office where I practiced, I used to do a lot of hydrochloric acid IV injections and hydrogen peroxide injections. You could run a full quart of hydrochloric acid into the left arm, and every 15 minutes take blood from the right arm and do a pH in 7.1. Now, there's nothing you can do to change the pH of the internal environment of your body. And anybody who thinks you can do that by eating things, you're living in la-la land.
I think we have a debate over here with Dr. Junger.
I knew I'd start that.
Now let's talk about alkaline water.
No, but well, the thing is, I don't know where you get your information from, but when I
Pathologist has done 20,000 autopsies.
okay, but those are dead people. Well, listen, I'm not trying to make fun of him. But there's confusion about these things everywhere, you know. And the thing is the pH.
The beauty of this panel is the debate.
Yes.
That's the beauty. If it wasn't a debate, I wouldn't be up here because it'd be boring.
But the thing is listen, and this we can Google right now if anybody has an iPhone. The pH of normal healthy blood is not 7.1. It's 7.36. And that you don't change the pH in the blood is not true. You do that not only with the food that you eat, but with the activities that you perform, and even with the thoughts that you have. So the thing is that yes, generally the body wants to maintain the pH in a certain level, and if it's getting acidic, it will put on mechanisms of defense, adaptation, survival that are going to increase your extraction or elimination of whatever it is that is in excess. And for example, when you are acidifying your blood chronically, the body has many different systems. One of them is you just breathe faster, because when you breathe faster, you take out CO2, which is carbonic acid, so it alkalinizes your blood. Sometimes you pee more. But one of the mechanisms that starts kicking in after a while is that your bones will act like Alka-Seltzers, and they will fizzle out their phosphorus and their calcium to counteract the chronic acidity in your blood, and will give you osteoporosis. You know? So the question of acidity is really very complex, and do not leave this room thinking that you cannot change the pH of your blood with the things that you eat.
All right, well, I'll go. Well, absolutely. When people are ill, they're acidic. I mean, I get it all the time. And the first thing we're doing is we're using alkaline water and we're using alkaline foods. and we're getting their bodies back. And I have thousands and thousands and thousands of students that have come from every country in the world. Many of them have come with 4th-stage metastasized cancer, and everybody thought they were going to die in 1 or 2 weeks, and they completely heal. And every other type of disease. And a big part of it is alkalizing the body, using food. Now, let me tell you something about that, though. You can have a pristine, wonderful diet where you've got really alkaline going on, and you can get mad at somebody, and immediately you're acid. Immediately. A thought, like you said, it can change you that fast. Emotional stuff can change you into acidic. So you can sabotage yourself in that way where you're thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm eating all these good foods that are alkaline to bring my alkalinity back, but you're still holding on to some of that emotional or the anger or whatever that it may be. So I do know that you can bring alkalinity to your body and to your blood, and that that is a very key part of helping the body to be able to heal of whatever is going on in the body.
Okay, ditto. But I just wanted to mention it's supposed to be about 80% alkaline, 20% acidic is the natural balance for a healthy body. And I don't know, are there a lot of people in here that drink milk for their calcium? Okay. Oh, wow, that's wonderful. For fun? Okay, well, milk, again, talking about leaching the minerals from your bones to help counteract the acidity of the milk. And we have to be really careful about what we're ingesting. I did have one question. You mentioned about the hydrochloric acid in the stomach. And just to address that quickly, with age, hydrochloric acid does diminish in the stomach. But if you're eating all these nice green leafy vegetables and the sprouts and the raw living foods, it's not a problem to digest that. It's more a problem if you're eating like red meat and really heavy, dense proteins. They will not be as easily digested as you age. Uh-huh. Well, you know what? If you're going to be eating sprouts and squished up nuts and blended foods and, there's so much more easily assimilated. The proteins are broken down into amino acids already for you. The carbohydrates are simple sugars, and the fats become essential fatty acids. So it's so much more easily assimilated and digested. You might want to look into that a little bit more.
Thank you. I think James has something to say.
Yeah, it doesn't matter alkaline or acid going in here. It's what the minerals are that are digestible that go in. Now, Doc knows the pathways better than I do. Tell him about it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, again, there's several different buffer systems in your bloodstream. We're talking about phosphate buffer systems, carbonate buffer systems, which you've mentioned. There's calcium, magnesium. And again, your body wants to maintain homeostasis is the word that everybody's looking for. And it's not a straight line. It's an undulating thing. Your body's given and taken all the time. But basically, your body is going to fight anything you do when you take it in. And so when people are talking about alkalizing your body, really what I look at it is that you're getting lots of antioxidants. You're getting lots of ORAC points. ORAC, oxygen radical absorption capacity, which is a measurement of how many free radicals you're neutralizing with antioxidants. And these super juices like goji and mangosteen and acai berry and so on, and the old juicing programs are very good for cancer because they got the ORAC points up. And people can call it what they may, but it's still, they're talking about alkalizing your body, they're talking about taking in lots of ORAC points as opposed to really taking in alkali. And so, again, it's a kind of a jargon. When you look at it from a science standpoint, it's not really alkalize your body you're taking in. Those foods, you're taking in lots of ORAC points. And just very briefly, the people who live to be 120 and so forth in these long-lived cultures, they take in 25,000 ORAC points a day on the average. We take in 1,500. So there's nothing better than drinking juices, green juices, and eating lots of green leafy things and vegetables from the ORAC standpoint, antioxidants. And red wine is the best. Yeah, particularly Napa Valley Merlot.
I'll just finish that off then. In other words, if you're putting a little bit of lye, which is alkaline as can be, into a beaker of acid, it's going to neutralize, and when it comes out of your stomach, it's going to be at the right pH. So it's not that you're eating alkali to destroy the acid in your stomach. It's the auric value and the chemicals in your body in balance that will, if you're too acidic, it'll make you more alkaline. If you're too alkaline, it'll make you more acidic, but it has nothing to do with what goes in your mouth as far as the acidity or alkalinity of the product that's going in.
Are you serious? Where do you get your information? I mean, it's okay if you say these things for a joke, but you're giving information to people that are going to take on and do things or not do things according to that information. And the thing is, you are what you eat and drink. Every molecule of your body is made of.
And placing bets at Santa Anita.
Okay, Deborah has a lecture going on now, and she's going to be leaving us. Let's give her a round of applause. She's not sorry. She got to do the panel. Now she's doing her lecture.
Anyway, so tomorrow, 1 to 3, I'm subbing for Victorious, and I'm making some of my recipes that are coming out of my new DVD. And you can get more information. I'll leave some of these flyers here. And
You should go see her. I mean, she has great, incredible, phenomenal recipes. Okay, so are we still? We're still debating.
So wait, just to finish what I was saying is this: since you are born about this size to whatever size you are today, every piece of whatever you are made of comes from the food that you eat. So at a certain level, we are just molecules. And these molecules are A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. And if you don't eat them, you don't get them. Some of them, you can transform one into others, like for example, certain amino acids you can transform into other amino acids, but there's 8 amino acids that are essential that you cannot really manufacture. Just like magnesium, just like also every single thing that we're made of, and we're made of almost every element in the planet, has to be there at a certain concentration in order for your metabolism to function correctly. A plus B equals C, that's you. And if nutrient A is missing from the equation, then the C is not going to be made. And C may be a hormone or maybe a neurotransmitter or whatever it is that chemical is involved in the body. So this is the most important and basic function is that you are what you eat. Your chemistries reflect the things that you put in. Some of the changes are immediate, and some of the changes happen through years. And also some of the things that you eat, because they're not supposed to be eaten, or contain things like chemicals, like certain toxins. When they go in, they cause extra damage, and then your body has to react against and defend itself.
Okay. Are we confused? Excuse me? We've been talking about, that's what we're talking about, the acid alkaline water. That's exactly what we're talking about. And the foods. Yes.
People today criticize distilled water. They say it's no good, but a lot of nutritional experts.
Okay, let's do a fast one on distilled water. Yes or no?
No, distilled water is useful for certain things, like certain intense programs of detoxification, but in general, one should drink good water with certain mineral content and even with certain magnetic vibration.
Brenda?
I agree with that. No distilled water as far as my program is concerned. I also agree with, the alkaline water. I also agree about it having the energetic vibrational frequency. I'm big into frequency, vibrations. You raise the vibrational frequency of the body high enough, then no disease is going to live in there. So, and you know what? Here's the thing. Everybody has a different opinion, and that's good because we're not living in a place where everybody's got to agree. Okay, but I do think it is important that, and especially for, I feel like, you know, if you're really seeing these people that are sick and they're getting well and you know some things are working for them, I think we do have a responsibility and not just to throw things out there that are just any old thing. Because if people can take, I mean, I know people are passionate, and I'm not saying this in judgment or criticism, but sometimes people will listen to that thing, they'll go do that thing, and then that thing will really give them a problem. So,
Right. Distilled water.
Distilled water is a guarantee that you get nothing bad because it's just pure water, but it's hungry water. It will pull nutrients out of you to kind of equalize itself. And so if you're going to use distilled water to guarantee clean water, throw an ounce of the liquid plant minerals in there per gallon. It'll make it happy water.
James.
Regular water from snow, from rain, from rivers, from lakes, like we have for the last 200,000 generations, unless it's full of bad bacteria or beaver fever or something, and then throw some chlorine in it.
Okay, so it doesn't...
please don't be putting chlorine in your water, and do not drink chlorinated water, because chlorine is not a good thing to be going in your body, in all due respect.
Depending on where you are, if you're in the middle of New York City, you can buy bottled water, maybe.
Well, now that is true. I mean, if I'm in some foreign country and there's something, I agree with that. You're right about that. But I'm saying, you know, for the most part, let's not be putting chlorine in our body. And that is a whole other hours of lecture of talking about all the harmful things from chlorine and a byproduct called dioxin. And so you don't want it.
We don't like chlorine. Maybe Clorox, but not chlorine.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, yeah. Chlorine, of course, is what's doubled our lifespan. In the 1890s, we were 45 years average. It's not medical doctors who've brought us up to 75 in longevity. It's clean water and sewers, okay, that have doubled, because we got rid of cholera and waterborne diseases is what's doubled our lifespan. So don't diss chlorine too much, but what you can do when you pull chlorinated water out of the tap, if for an emergency, if you have to drink it, just leave it out overnight on the countertop, and the chlorine will vaporize out of it, and it'll be chlorine-free water. We used to do that for goldfish, remember? Before they had the tablets that would neutralize the chlorine. So just get a big, wide-mouth mixing bowl, put your water out of the tap in there, leave it off gas. If you have to drink roadside water in an emergency, a couple of, I think it's 10 drops of Clorox per gallon of water, bleach. Leave it set overnight. After it's killed the bugs, it'll vaporize the chlorine off, and you'll have bug-free water.
I mean, it's an old Edgar Casey remedy.
Yeah.
And you put a little bit in the bathtub, or a little bit in your vegetables. You know, your fruits and vegetables, you can wash it. But, you know, yeah.
Yeah. I have a question about salt. Dr. Gerson, the 50 cases, with cancer without salt, eliminated completely salt, and his...
I think we already talked about salt.
Okay, but knowing what Dr. Gerson did and having the controversy of salt and not salt, it's a little difficult. I don't know how to handle that myself.
Okay, I have to jump in here because I know Charlotte very well. She lives just down the street from me, Charlotte Gerson, his daughter, right? And you have to appreciate Dr. Gerson in his 50 cases, it was not just juices. Guess what it was? Juiced liver was part of his original formula. Guess what's in juiced liver? Sodium chloride, selenium, sulfur, all this stuff. And so you don't want to bastardize his original thing by leaving out important pieces. It wasn't just juiced fruits and vegetables. It was juiced liver. There's a lot of salt in juiced liver.
God, there's a lot of shit in juiced liver.
Hey, Max.
But you have to figure, if the liver pulls out all the toxins in the body, and you're eating the liver, how old did Max? Max lived long. Did Max live long?
He did. He lived long and prospered.
Yeah. I don't
He
know.
lived
Pretty
in his
long.
90s.
Yeah.
Charlotte
Gerson. Yeah, I remember Max Gerson. Yeah. But you know what? I would say there are exceptions to every rule. And, you know, to eat an organ of the body that is housing toxins, it doesn't logically make sense to me. I don't even eat the animal, but let alone eat the liver.
But the thing is, but you don't really understand what happens. The liver doesn't lodge toxins. Toxins pass through the hepatic vein. The liver's what it does, it causes chemical reactions in the blood to neutralize to neutralize basically these toxins that are converted then into being water soluble, so they can be extracted by the kidney. The kidney doesn't house toxins either; it just filtrates them out. So there are no
toxins in the liver.
Well, I'm not saying there are no toxins in the liver, but there's not a place where toxins are housed. I mean, if the animal is toxic, it's going to be toxic in the liver, and there is certain amount of, because the liver is full of blood also. So if that liver is full of blood, there are some toxins in the blood, but it's not correct that the liver is storage of
See, I
toxins.
just learned something. Chopped liver. I didn't know that. Now I do. No, supposed to be. Okay, so if you're going to eat liver, eat liver. Okay, chicken liver versus calf liver versus cow liver.
Ramaki's good.
Don't eat pig, pork, and stop. No, don't do it. Don't go down that road. Please.
You and ready? Yes.
Okay, just quickly, he lived till he was in his 90s, but Charles Berkeley told me after he went to the Senate with the 50 and Vanguard, he was poisoned. Was that after he was 90? Yes.
Well, I think that's her belief system. I don't know that that's true. He lived in his 90s, and so they could still poison him when he's 90, right?
Right.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said it is 90. Yes, any other questions? Yes.
Question about the chlorine. There's some recent findings that chlorine converts cholesterol in the body.
Cholesterol and estrogen?
Okay, chlorine does not convert to cholesterol in the body. Cholesterol is a steroid that makes your male hormones, testosterone. Cholesterol makes progesterone and estrogen. Cholesterol makes adrenal hormones. And you do not want to be on a cholesterol-free diet, okay? Everything that the medical system has taught you about cholesterol is wrong. The reason why we have Alzheimer's disease, it's actually a physician-caused disease. 75% of your brain weight is, in fact, cholesterol. When the cholesterol goes away, you get Alzheimer's disease. And that's why baby boomers, almost 100% of them are going to get Alzheimer's disease because they're taking Lipitor and statin drugs to lower cholesterol. There's not a single disease that is caused by elevated blood cholesterol. Just ask the Eskimos, whose blood cholesterols range from 350 to 500, and they have the fewest number of cardiovascular events there is. Cholesterol is a good thing. It's an essential nutrient. It makes up 80% of each cell wall in your body. It makes up most of your hormones, not thyroid hormone or pituitary hormones, but it does make up sex hormones in both males and females. It makes up adrenal hormones. And cholesterol is not a bad thing, but chlorine does not turn into cholesterol.
Does it get to a certain point where it is bad, though? It goes over a certain
The only time cholesterol is bad is when it's oxidized. In other words, olive oil is more dangerous than cholesterol. Olive oil is more dangerous. Remember, when you're looking at the Mediterranean, the average lifespan of an Italian is 72. The average lifespan of a Sardinian who do not use olive oil. They eat goat meat and eggs and seaweed and stuff, and sweet potatoes and red wine. Their average, they live to be 90, which is like 18 years longer than the Italians. They laugh at the Italians for eating olive oil.
James.
Cholesterol is so important that it's not only manufactured in the liver. Now, if you don't eat cholesterol, your liver will manufacture it. But it is so important, there are actually cholesterol manufacturing cells in your brain, so that the cholesterol that can't get through the blood-brain barrier, your brain can still manufacture cholesterol, because if it doesn't, you have Alzheimer's. Now, way back when we damned pork, or at least lard, and all saturated fats, and said, no, everybody starting in 1910 now has to eat damaged vegetable oils. We suddenly overdosed ourselves with omega-6 oils to the point where prostaglandin 1 and 2 are being produced at 100 times more than what they should be. And what do? They tell your body to produce cholesterol, to raise your blood pressure, to put more insulin in, to bring in, so you could do that fight or flight thing. So that someone cuts you off on the freeway today, 2 weeks from next Thursday, you've still got high blood pressure, you're still producing adrenaline, and then when you finally hit adrenal exhaustion from this overabundance of omega-6 and no omega-3, we've invented a new disease, the metabolic syndrome.
I just need to add one more thing. The French, who cook in lard and cream and butter and eggs, rank third when it comes to longevity in the world. Fat is the antichrist for Americans, and we lower our blood cholesterols and blood fats with statin drugs, and we rank 50th. So I'd rather eat French cooking and live to be 100 than eat American food and live to be 65.
I know that Dr. Junger has something to say. Well, no, we're talking about cholesterol.
The issue of cholesterol is way more complex than what we're talking about here. But one of the things that I agree is that it cannot be looked at it just individually and say your cholesterol is high, let's bring it down with some pill. I know, for example, that there's people with high cholesterol that do not have coronary artery disease. I know there's people who have low cholesterol and have coronary artery disease. I know, for example, that even the pharmaceutical industry has kind of admitted that the benefits of Lipitor and the other statins is that they are anti-inflammatories and not that they lower your cholesterol. Because what happens is, if this is the wall of your artery, and because of the way we're living and the foods that we're eating and the chemicals that we're consuming, it starts getting irritated. The body, as a defense mechanism, will start to patch it up with cholesterol. So that is not actually a disease. Coronary artery disease is not really a disease. It's your perfect mechanism of survival that the body has in order to patch those arteries so they don't break and you don't have even bigger problems, in the hope that one day you'll stop eating whatever you're eating or doing whatever you're doing that is irritating you and causing inflammation. Then the arteries actually are cleaned up. Dr. Dean Ornish discovered that people that go on a certain kind of diet, which is a vegetarian diet, and they do some yoga and some group therapy and exercise, the plaque in the coronary arteries actually reverses and goes away. So I don't consider coronary artery a plaque buildup a disease. Actually, it's a mechanism of survival, and it's your body trying to survive. Usually, just your lifestyle. So the disease is our lifestyle, right? The way that we eat, the chemicals we put in our food, so what we eat, even the people that eat all organic and think they're doing really healthy, and the combination and the amounts and the frequencies of how we eat today is causing most of our disease.
Yeah. In fact, I have high cholesterol, very high cholesterol, and I guess it's hereditary. And yet I took a CT scan, et cetera, and I have no plaque in my arteries. I have no calcium in my arteries.
Mark, how high is it? What's high?
I forgot. You know, my HDL-LDL is a good ratio because my HDL is pretty high. But my LDL is high.
Are you talking about 300? Are you talking about 3,000?
No, it's under 300.
Okay. Then that just means you're sexy.
Yeah.
More sex hormones.
He's been looking at me a certain way. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Talking about chlorine,
Mm-hmm.
does it mean you shouldn't swim?
Swimming pool chlorine absorption.
You do absorb chlorine from swimming, just like in the shower and the tub and all that. Whatever you put on your skin gets absorbed into your body. I mean, that's why you see people have nicotine patches. You know, they put the patch on, it gets absorbed in. You know, you put a cream or a lotion on your body, it gets absorbed in. So whatever is going on your skin, it is going to get absorbed into your body. So the answer to that is yes.
Dr. Waller.
Well, swim in the ocean.
I
Swim
don't
in
do
the
pools.
ocean.
I wouldn't do chlorine.
Don't
and
do the
bromine.
pools. Don't. Yeah, but
Yeah, I
swim
don't
in
do
the
pools.
ocean for sure. On the lakes or whatever, you know.
But Joel,
Okay, well, up until the 1920s and 30s, there was no chlorine put in the swimming pools. We had a big outbreak of a thing called polio, because when little kids pee and poop in the pool, the polio virus got swallowed and inhaled by all these kids, and it transmitted polio, and we began to chlorinate pool water to eliminate polio. That's why it's in there. And again, I like Mark's thing. We own hotels and spas, and we use bromine instead of chlorine for that
yeah,
reason.
but I think it's just as bad though, bromine. No.
Not really.
Yeah.
It makes you itchy if you're sensitive to it, but it doesn't cause a lot of the harm that too much.
I mean, I have big hot tub. I have silver nitrate and an ozonator and.
Yeah. Well, the public health department doesn't like that.
Right.
You have to deal with the public health departments of the counties and the states and so forth, and they measure it by chlorine or bromine. And what you have to do is watch your time in the pool and so forth. You don't want to spend all day soaking in the water.
What would be a good time?
I'd say less than 30 minutes, and then you want to take a nice shower and use a house or a shower filter.
Well, as Brenda said, it's the largest organ in the body,
Yeah,
so it's going to
exactly right.
absorb. But try to take these to the ocean. Yes.
I just wanted to add to that. A lot of the chlorine policies that have come in this country came out of the Clean Air, Clean Water Act that was passed in the 60s, and a lot of the technology that we use for our water filtration systems at municipalities is outdated. So we use it, but it's a little bit outdated. If you Google and you research a little bit, in Florida especially, when you kind of fly over and you're landing in Orlando, you see that the color of the pools there are much different than a lot of the pools that when you fly over, let's say, New Jersey or California. And in Florida, that a lot of people are using different types of solutions outside of chlorine to make sure that their water is filtered, but that doesn't have the same toxic effects as chlorine. So these are old solutions. We're trying to find new ways, and the more that everybody gets educated, the more solutions that we can find that are better than the old technology that we come up with.
But just go off the subject a little bit, and with comtrails versus chemtrails. And is everybody familiar with comtrails and chemtrails? Okay. So in the old days, when you see a plane go across the sky, you used to see the white stream behind it, and then it would dissipate, and you would have a blue sky. Now you very, very rarely see a blue sky. In fact, you see white lines all over the place. Well, those white lines are called chemtrails, not comtrails. And the government now is allowed to use, because, I forgot what act it is, but it's because of global warming. So they're allowed to experiment. So what they've been doing is they've been spraying chemicals in the air behind these planes. And the different chemicals, they want to block some of the sun to decrease global warming. But all these chemicals are falling down into the earth, onto us, into the pools, into the ocean, into everything. And you'll notice these are called chemtrails. You should Google chem, C-H-E-M, trails. And so what it is, you'll see the white behind the plane, but instead of dissipating, it'll start looking like a spine and spining out and just stays there. And it's just chemicals in the air. So it's not, and they end up in the pool and in the ocean and in our body and in our ear and asthma and bronchitis and blah, blah, blah. But you should Google chemtrails versus chemtrails. Yeah. Yes.
I had a question. I wasn't able to attend your lecture, James. And in here it talks about, you were telling about your own story of recovery to illustrate how important, the importance of it and how to obtain all the essential nutrients. Would you be able to talk a little bit about that?
The question is, again,
On his story of recovery and how he's able to use all his story to
Dr. Boschman's story.
Yeah, Dr. Boschman, that doesn't supplement. Whole food. In other words, I realized that I was not getting any omega-3 from fish, from flax, from hemp, from anything. It's essential. You have to get it. You have to get it from somewhere. I wasn't getting it. Flax came in, made a big difference. Mental improvement, fingernails, cold hands and feet, energy, overweight. All I did was got a little bit of an essential nutrient I was not getting. The food I was eating was all fractionated pieces of what used to be food. Something like Wonder Bread. It's a wonder, it's legal to call it bread. Anything you can put on your driveway in June, don't come back until October, and it hasn't changed, wasn't food to start with. So I really made an effort to go for a broad range of food whole. No corn sugar, no corn syrup, no corn oil, no corn starch, no white flour, roasted wheat berries, beans, peas, vegetables, whole fruits, meats, chicken, fish, eggs, cheese. I am an omnivore, and I found I could get all of the nutrients I needed for me because I wasn't, dying of something else. I was just omega-3 deficient. And I also made an incredible effort to avoid omega-6 fats. They're essential. But if you lived in a cave as a hermit and ate roots and berries, you'd have to look to eat the wrong ones not to get enough omega-6. It's in everything. Corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, peanut oil, all of the artificial oils that we're being forced billions of tons into our food supply, it's all omega-6 oils. We need about 3.4 grams a day. We don't need 300 grams a day. For 2 million years, we got 3 to 4 grams a day. Suddenly, we're getting 300 of an essential fat that produces prostaglandin 1 and 2. It would have to knock our systems out.
Any disagreement on that?
I'd like for you to expand a little bit, because I think your message is really important, about if you don't have those omega-3s and so forth, because you said it, but I don't know everybody had it. You said fingernails, and you said cold hands, cold feet. So tell us a little bit more about, because maybe some people are experiencing those kind of symptoms,
and we have 3 minutes left.
And maybe what they need
I want to take 1 minute. Flaxseed is the highest known vegetal source of omega-3. Our particular flax is 40% oil, of which 60% is omega-3. So 24% of the whole grain, of the whole oil seed that you're eating, is omega-3. You need 3 to 4 grams a day. 2 heaping tablespoons gives you about 20 grams. So 24% of that, you're going to get enough omega-3. You're also going to get fiber, 22% protein, the highest source of lignan in the vegetal world. And so it's just not a supplement, it's a food. And gluten-free.
Okay, since we only have about 2 minutes, I'm going to have everybody have a closing statement. Dr. Junger, which thank you so much for coming. We found each other on Facebook. It wasn't a singles thing. I just heard about his cleanse, etc. And
you do look sexy from behind.
If you want to see Dr. Junger, he'll tell you where. Go to Lenox Hill Hospital. I know Brenda has a booth downstairs, plus she will let you know if she has any lectures coming up. Joel has a booth downstairs. He'll tell you about his lecture workshop coming up. James has a booth downstairs, and he'll tell you about his lecture coming up. And a closing statement from Dr. Alejandro Junger.
I'll tell you one thing. If you are having some health issues, it is more important for you to take a look at what you shouldn't be eating than at what you should be eating so much. Because what you should be eating, there's as many opinions as books and people are out there. So I say always that if you get a good actor, charismatic actor that can fake being a doctor, you put him in an office and you send him tons of people, and the only thing that he accomplishes with each one is that he charms them or he convinces them not to eat any dairy products, any refined sugar, any bread, pasta, or gluten-containing products, anything that comes in a box, in a jar, in a tube, in a can, in a container. No coffee, no alcohol, and no red meat, he would be, judging by the results, the best doctor in New York and probably in America.
Thank you.
That's a good point. All right, well, I have a booth on the mezzanine level 117. Come see me. I'm giving scholarships for people who want to come and take my program in Atlanta, so I hope you'll come by and see us and get that. Tomorrow I'm speaking at 2 o'clock in the Murray Hill room on the 4th floor. I hope you'll come and hear my lecture. And I also just would like to tell you about Deborah tomorrow, because she is speaking in the Soho room tomorrow from 1 to 3, and she is doing a workshop there as well. So we'd love for you to come and join us.
And Dr.
And I
Wallace.
got to say that this has been, I have done a lot of these panels. And I got to say this has been the best one. James, don't you agree this has been the best one? It really has. It's been the most interesting. The information has been really powerful and good. Every bit of it has been. And the controversy has been wonderful because it gets everybody kind of thinking and all that. Because, see, here's the thing. None of us are up here trying to make you think the way we think. We want to get you thinking for yourself. Because you know what? You start thinking for yourself, you'll get to figuring out what it is. So I just wanted to say that this is really, in my opinion, the best one we've ever done.
I agree.
Well, I'm glad I'm on the panel. Okay, thank you. Any rate, I'm in booth 419. It's the longevity booth, and I'll be speaking at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I apologize, I don't know what room it is, but I'm speaking at 11 o'clock, so you can look it up on the program. But again, if I had any little pearl of wisdom to give you, is I would recommend you come down to our booth, sample some of the liquid minerals. They're certified organic. You need minerals. Plants cannot make them. If there's any one supplement you need, it's minerals. You can get some vitamins and amino acids and fatty acids from your food. You cannot guarantee minerals, and we'll give you a free sample. You'll love it. They're not ionic. They're in fact colloidal, which is an angstrom size, very small. They're certified organic from plants. They've been certified organic every year for 35 years. Nobody else has done that.
And James.
Booth 107. Booth 107, and I speak at 6 tomorrow night. I don't know what room. And also in my booth, I've got Al Watson, the author of Serial Killer. And this book is available Amazon, $13.95, or you can go down and see Al and get a copy autographed for $10.
Great. Also, I mean, basically, if you eat something, see how you feel after it. If you don't feel well after it, eliminate that from your diet. Gradually, you will create your own diet. Thank you very much for coming.